2 white rolls, which you get a free ride. So they give us a
Kuf Tes Zion 116. We're going to start on Kuf Tes Vav on the base on the bottom. Toner bottom. Vayibin Sa'aron Vayom Moshe. Parshazu Asala Kodesh Baruch Hu Simonios Milmala Ulamata. There are signs placed in front and in back of this parsha. By the way, you notice the Gemara doesn't say backward nuns. It's actually a machlokas rishonim. There's a tradition from Rav Hai Gaon that these simonim are backwards nuns. Rav Hai Gaon lived about 900, 800, 900, that region. You notice the Gemara doesn't say anything about backwards nuns. It just says, Simonios lavdila min asmuchos la, l'mal l'mato. Betchilu v'sof vayibin sa'aron. So, our minig is that it's nuns. Loimar she'ein ze makoma, as to tell us that it doesn't really belong here, because in the parsha of the Golim, it said that first Yehuda, then the other Shvat, then the other Shevet, then there was the Mishkan in the middle, and then there were the other Shvatim in the behind the Mishkan. So when it mentioned the Mishkan, then it should have said Vayibin Sa'aron Vayom Moshe. Now, if you count, there are 50 parshios. If you count backwards, 50 parshios. That's where it belonged. It's in that parsha that talks about the location of the Mishkan. So that's why backwards nun, because nun b'gematria is 50. So, according to the Tanakama here, the reason why there are simonim in front of and behind Vayibin Sa'aron is because to tell us it really didn't belong here. We'll see why it was moved here. If it doesn't belong here, if it belongs back there, why did they put it here? So the Gemara will have to explain that to us. Rebbe Yomi Lomen Hashem Uzeh. Rebbe says it has nothing to do with that it doesn't belong here. It belongs here. So we alluded to this in the previous year. That really Sefer Bamidbar is made out of 3 Sforim. That when we say Chamisha Chumshei Torah, according to Rebbe, there really are 7 Torahs. Because Bamidbar is made up of Sefer Bamidbar from the beginning until the Vayibin Sa'aron. Then Vayibin Sa'aron is its own Sefer. And then from the end, Vayi Aman Kimasonanim, after the parsha of Vayibin Sa'aron, that's the 3rd Sefer. And the backwards nun is to delineate this is a Sefer b'fnei atzma. K'man nazla hada amra Shmuel bar Nachman amar Rav Yochanan. There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Chatzva Amudei Hashiva, that there are 7 pillars. It refers to the 7 Sforim according to Rebbe. Elu Shiva Sifrei Torah. Keman Rebbe. Now, Man Tala the Poligaled Rebbe. Who is the Tana that argues with Rebbe on this issue? Rav Shimon Gamliel. The Tanya Rav Shimon Gamliel Oimer. Atida Parsha Zusha Te'arka Mikan V'Tikasib in Koma. When Mashiach comes, La'asid Lavo, there will not be any punishments anymore. Rashi says, Kol Paranios Patelim. Nobody will be worried. He says, Yetzer Hara Batel. There won't be Yetzer Hara. So this is in the future. Now remember, according to Shmuel, and the way the Rambam paskins, Ein Ben Yemosa Mashiach, Lizman Hazeh, El Shibud Malchus Bilvad. And the Rambam paskins like Shmuel, that Mashiach time is going to be like regular time. It means the rules of physics are going to be the rules of physics. and everything is going to, the world is going to conduct itself the normal way. The only thing is, Israel will not be under the domination or subjugation of foreign powers. So this Rashi that says Yetzer Hara is Batel, well, there's no evidence that Yemos Mashiach Yetzer Hara. We're talking about a further time. You're talking about Olam Haba. You're talking about a time even beyond Mashiach. And at that time, the Parsha will be put back to where it's supposed to be, which is back in the Parshas of the Golim. V'lama kasva kan. Why was it written here? Because right now, if Vayibin Saron wasn't put there, there would be two bad things that happened to the Jewish people right next to each other. Right? The people complained that they had no meat to eat. And that follows right after the Vayibin Saron. By the way, you can say even also, not just from a literary point of view, that the whole Sefer Torah is one, novels are written like there's a peak and there's a denouement, then it goes down. Every novel, Oliver Twist, Tom Sawyer, the classic novels are written, the plot develops, and then there's a climax, and then there's a denouement. So if you look at the Torah, up until now, the last event that occurs is Yisro, right? Bamidbar, there's a census, there's a Mishkan, it's laid out, and then Yisro leaves. Moshe asks Yisro to stay, and then it says that the Jewish people left Har Sinai, Derech Shloshes Yamin. They were on their way to Eretz Yisrael. They were going to be in Eretz Yisrael in 11 days. And then there's the parsha of Vayibin Saron. They've been encamped in Har Sinai for about a year and a month, right? They were there from Rosh Chodesh Sivan, not quite a year, because now it's the 22nd of Iyar, the 21st of Iyar when they leave. So it's not, they haven't even gotten to Chodesh Sivan yet. We know that because they in Parshas Baloscha, there's Pesach Sheni, and then right after Pesach Sheni, Yisro leaves a week later. So it's the 21st to 22nd day of Iyar. So they're there almost a whole year when they left Har Hashem, and they're on their way to Eretz Yisrael, and all of a sudden the Misonanim, and now begins the downfall, because they're the Misonanim, and then then there's Eldad Umeidad, because the Moshe Rabbeinu complains, I don't know how to deal with the people. They appoint a Sanhedrin. Then Eldad Umeidad, and then the Miriam becomes a Mitzvah. Then they send Meraglim, and then they're given a decree to stay in the desert for 40 years. So this all happens. The turn of the screw occurs Vayibin Saron. That's perhaps another way of understanding why the Vayibin Saron is put there in the backwards note, because all of a sudden there's a nefila, there's a drop. And the Gemara is highlighting that the Puranas Shnios is Vayiyam Kimisonim. So what's the Puranas Rishonos that immediately precedes it, that needed the Parsha Vayibin Saron to put in between? Vayisum Har Hashem. So why is that a problem? Vayisum Har Hashem, they left Har Sinai. No. They ran away. It's like a child. Rashi brings the Medrash that like a child running away from school. They wanted to rebel. So really, the Vayibin Saron should have been 50 parshios in front. They moved it here to separate between these two perennials. Ravashi, where was its place? Heicha Mekoma B'Digol. Okay. Iboilu. Hagil Yoinim shall say for Torah. So we've been dealing with if you have 85 letters in a Sefer Torah, so you can save it from the fire. But what about if you had only blank parchment, like the sides, the top, and let's say the letters have been erased? Does the blank spaces in the Sefer Torah have kedusha that you can be matzalit from the dlek on Shabbos? Toshma, come in here a proof. Sefer Torah Shabbalah, a Sefer Torah that's worn down. In Yeshbol Lakit Shmonim Chamesh Osiyos, if you can collect 85 letters, which is Kigon Parshas Vayibin Saron Matzilin, Ve'ilave Matzilin. So if there's not 85 letters, you don't save it. So Freit the Gemara Vamai, if you save it because of the blank spaces, Tepok Mishum Gilyon Didei, must be that the blank spaces don't have kedusha. The Gemara says that's no raya, bola shiny. We're talking about a Sefer Torah here that got worn down. So since the writing got worn down, everything got worn down. But perhaps, let's say that the writing got worn down, but the parchments are still good. That's our shayla. So we don't have an answer. So Toshma, come in here, another proof. Sefer Torah shenimchak. You have a Sefer Torah where the words were erased. In Yeshbol Lakit Shmonim Chamesh Osiyos. If you have enough for 85 letters, could go in Parshas Vayibin Saron Matzilin. V'im Lavein Matzilin. If you don't have the 85 letters, you don't say. What about the blank spaces? This seems to be a raya that we don't save the blank spaces. So Gemara says, Makom Aksav Lo Kama Boili. I'm not asking you about the place where the letters were, and now the letters got erased. So there, that space loses its kedusha, because the kedusha was there because of the letters, and now you've erased it, so there's no kedusha. But I'm talking about the chikodesh agav kosav the kodesh. The reason why it was kodesh because of the writing. Also ksav. Once the ksav went away, azla kedusha, and there's no kedusha. We're talking about this on the parchment space where you actually wrote the letters. But our shayla ki kama boili shel ma'ila v'shel mata. The spaces above and below. Shebein parsha l'parsha, the space between parsha, shebein daf l'daf, or the spaces between chilas hasefer, shebesof hasefer. So the tepok le mishumahu. So if it's correct that they have kedusha, why won't you save it? Why do you need the letters? It should have kedusha because of the spaces. So the Gemara says the guy is v'shadi. We're talking about here, you don't save it because you've cut away the spaces. But in a chanami, if the spaces were there, you'd have to save it. So there's no riot from there. Toshma, all the blank spaces. It says metamim esayadai. So Chazal instituted a gzeira that when you touch a Sefer Torah with the bare hands, you become tomei. The reason for that gzeira is because people used to store their trumos people had Sifrei Kodesh. Let's say they kept it in a special Aron Kodesh, and then if they would be given truma or meiser or any kind of holy food, they would say, "Oh, a Sefer Torah is holy, the food is holy. Let's store them in the same place." And then the rats would come they'd be attracted by the food, and then they'd nibble away at the parchment and damage the parchment. So in order to keep people from storing their food with Kisvei Kodesh, they made a gzer that if you touch the Kisvei Kodesh, you become tamei. That way you wouldn't store your food there because you wouldn't be tamei the food. So now the halacha is that if you touch even the margins, the blank spaces in the Sefer Torah, it's going to give you tumah. So the Gemara wants to say from here, it has kedusha. Gemara says, no, Dilma Agav Sefer Torah shiny. But that's a full Sefer Torah that hasn't been erased. Maybe since the whole Sefer Torah is around, so these things have kedusha as well. But that's not our shaila. Our shaila is a Sefer Torah where the words have been erased. Do the margins have kedusha. Toshma, another attempt. Hagilyonim v'sifrei minin. So again, we've learned before that min means Maimen Yeshu Notzri. These were the Christians. So we know that from the year, the historians, Josephus and others say that Jesus, if he did live, he died in 30 CE. And all of those books, the Gospels, were written 20 years after his death, in the year 50, by Mark and Luke. They were not written contemporaneously with his life. They were written by his followers about 20 years later. And the historians say that in the first 100 years, up until about the year 100, most of the adherents to Christianity were Jews who also kept Taryag mitzvahs. And then they had this belief that this was a Mashiach that had come. And in fact, you couldn't belong to the sect unless you performed Milah and you ate kosher food and everything like that. And there was a major attempt to try to persuade Jews living in Eretz Yisrael to adopt this religion. And they wrote Sforim, not just the Sforim that they wrote, but they would write other Sforim, philosophy in Hebrew and other Sforim, where they would try to prove to other Jews that many of the Nevuas that were written in Yeshayahu referred to Yeshua Notzri, etc. So a lot of this ended in Yavne, Rabbi Gamliel in Yavne, year 100. So they made the bracha Birchas Haminim, v'lemalshim al tehi sikva. Used to be 18 brachas. They added a bracha 19. And in general, the Christian evangelists did not have great success in converting Jews, because the Jewish concept of messianism is there's going to be a new world, peace will come, etc. Well, the destruction of the temple occurred in 70 CE. So the Jewish people were not buying that a Mashiach had come. So at that point, Saul of Tarsus, who became Paul, so he traveled to Greece and Turkey and all these other places and converted the Gentiles mainly. And at that point, they came up with the theology that, you know what? You don't have to have Milah, you don't have to have Kasha, the 10 Commandments are enough. And that they changed the whole theology and it wasn't really any more a movement that was directed to the Jewish people. But this Gemara is referring to the Sifrei meaning that they would write Torah Nevi'im Uksuvim in Ksav Ashuri and in Lashon HaKodesh, but they had in mind Avodah Zarah. And so he says, Agil Yoinim, the Sifrei meaning, Ein Matzil no Son of Me'adleika. By the way, you won't find any of all of this whole discussion I just had, you won't find any of this in the art scroll, because they are careful. It's almost like I think there's a little self-censorship going on, because many people learn Talmud from the art scroll translations. But what was that?
There's a lot of censorship on the art scroll, you know that.
Say it again?
There's a lot of censorship on the art scroll, you know that.
Correct. And I noticed if you study the Steinsaltz, he goes very much into detail. When it says minim, he tells you exactly what it is, and etc. So he's less, because he's writing in Hebrew. It's less accessible to the outside.
No, and now you can get it in English, like he says. Sifrei Aminim, the heretics were members of various dissenting sects that existed during the time of the Mishnah. The reference is in the context specifically Christian sects. Rabbeinu Hananel writes the heretics who existed at that time had not yet developed the custom that they practice today. Rather, they were misguided. Some of them observed the Torah while others did not. Yet they all read it. Rabbeinu Hananel described the period of history of Christianity in which it was not yet a distinct religion. During this period, its believers had broken away from Judaism, but some of them still absorbed the Torah and the mitzvot. As a result, there was different attitudes towards them. This period lasted over 100 years.
But you notice he didn't, in the English translation, he didn't use the word Christian. But in the Hebrew, he says, Shomer shana v'yoter b'toldot hanotzrut. So he's being careful too. You see that?
He mentions Christians, yeah.
He said the word Christian?
They say specifically to the Christian sects.
There you go. Okay, good. So the Stein, so I like that because he's being consistent.
Right.
He's being consistent. Exactly. Rabbeinu Hananel, who was an early Rishon, Rabbeinu Hananel is the one who learns that min means Christian. Mm-hmm. Most of the time it says in the Gemara, the word min, it won't say min. It'll say stuki, it'll say by tusi. What does it say in your Gemara? What does it say in your Gemara? Does it say min? Sefer meaning?
Yeah, Sefer meaning. The heretics were mentioned various dissenting sects that existed during the time of the Mishnah.
Correct. What I'm saying is, many times throughout Shas, you'll find some places where it'll say min, and it'll be censored by the Vilna Shas to another word.
Yeah, but this
here it says Sifrei meaning. I understand. Because Rashi, by the way, Rashi also says Sifrei meaning. Many times you'll see in Rashi already the censored word. But he had also the Masorah of Sifrei meaning. Okay. It's just interesting. You have to pick up the nuggets.
Ernie, the Art Scroll calls them sect.
Say again?
The Art Scroll translates minim by the word sectarians.
Right. So that sectarian means that there were basically conservative Reform Judaism or different sects or different. How would we call them with a different ism? How do we use an English word today to describe Orthodox conservative
denominations? Reform? We say denominations.
But Kenny, in the times of the Churban, sectarianism meant Prushim, Stukim, Baitusim, Essenes, the Christians. It meant all these groups that all sprung from Judaism. Yeah. Some went further off Judaism, some remained within Judaism. The Essenes thought that they were regular Jews, and the Dead Sea Scrolls that we have they had regular Sfarim like ours. Those Dead Sea Scrolls are from the Essene community. So the sectarianism, which Chazal say is really what's talked when we say sinas chinam, that part of the Churban was we fell apart because socially we broke up into groups. That's what they refer to as sectarianism or different sects. And they were different sects theologically as well. So yeah, they're using a broad term that sort of is more acceptable, I think, to the outside. So Sifrei Eimatzah, of course, we don't save those Sfarim because the intention of the person writing those Sfarim was a different elokus. Ela nisrafim bimkoman hein vaskrasayim. In fact, if it's burning on Shabbos, you let them burn them with the writings of that. The name of Hashem that's there, it's to an avodah zarah. So you let them burn. So, and the Gemara doesn't understand. My lab gilyonim the Sefer Torah. It thinks that it's talking about regular Sefer Torah, and therefore, if you're allowing even the margins to burn, because it said gilyonim, so the margins don't have kedusha. The Gemara says, "Lo, gilyonim the Sefer meaning." We're not talking about gilyonim of Sefer Torah that are holy. We're talking about the margins of these heretics books. Because hashta sifrei meaning gufayim, if we don't save their books themselves, gilyonim, was there any shy we don't save their margins? So hachikamer, in fact, the sifrei meaning harei henki gilyonim, that the books themselves, the writings of the meaning, are treated exactly like the margins. They're not worth anything you compare them. In fact, the Gemara ends here and never resolves this question. of whether Gilyonim, whether you can save them or not. Says the Shulchan Aruch, how Gilyonim achalokim shebesefer Torah ein matzosam de'adleikim Shabbos. Ki boizu lo niftra begemara uposku harif harosh ve'arambam lahachmir linyan Shabbos. Remember, we're talking about violating a doraisa, unless we're talking about going into a Carmelis. That's only rabbinic. But even so, the Rif and the Rosh and the Rambam, and remember, the Shulchan Aruch always relied on that triumvirate. The Rif, the Rosh, and the Rambam. If it was 2 against 1, he would usually paskin like the 2. Here, there was a unanimity of opinion that because the Gemara ended up as a suffix, it didn't resolve the question. Suffix d'oraisa l'chumra, so they paskin l'chumra. Here, it gives us a little window into psak halacha as well. Gufa. Hagilyonim v'sifrei minim ein matzil nosam v'nei. We mentioned in passing that these heretical writings, we would not save them min adleika on Shabbos. Rabbi Yossi Omer b'chol, during the weekday, koider es hazkor shebehem v'goinzim. You would cut out the names of Hashem in those writings, put them in a box, bury them, v'hashar sorfa, and you would burn the rest. Rav Tarfon, I'll bury my children. He's taking an oath. Absolutely not, he says to Rabbi Yossi, that if one of these books came to my hand, I would burn it with the names of Hashem that are in there. Let's say a person's chasing somebody to kill him, or Nachash, Lakish, or a snake is running after somebody to bite them. I would rather nichnas lebeis avodah zarah ve'nichnas lebatein shel elu. I would rather run into the house of an avodah zarah rather than into a Christian house of worship, because that's what they're referring to. Because according to Rav Tarfon, they knew better. Shalom akirin v'koifrin. Because these meaning they know they're Jews and they're koifrin. Malolo, a regular avodah zarah, they're in makirin because they don't know anything about Judaism. They're worshiping avodah zarah. I'd rather run to save myself into a base avodah zarah than one of their homes. Now, again, we're talking about in the time of Chazal when these were Jews. Today, the Christians are not Jews. So we're not talking about today. We're talking about then, in that period of time, in the period of sectarianism, when there was a real debate, fight between. Now, the historical sources that I've read myself say that the Romans actually favored Judaism. And at this period of time, they persecuted the Christians and not the Jews, because the Roman concept was they venerated old-time religion. So whenever they conquered, they saw an old-time religion, they let that, they were not like the Greeks, who, remember, they wanted to Hellenize, and the Romans were not like that. The Romans were when you're in Rome, live as in Rome. They wanted, and they did not trust Christianity because anything new was revolutionary. So they actually were persecuted. That occurred until 300 CE, when the Emperor Constantine had a vision before one of his battles. He had a vision of a cross, and he won the battle. So he converted to Christianity, and through that, much of Roman Empire became Christianized at 300 CE. And what happened, therefore, all the various Roman outposts in all the Roman world, the various, when the Roman Empire fell in 476 CE by the Visigoths, so the Christian society remained as a Roman Empire, because wherever they were, in Carthage or in Libya or in Byzantine, wherever they were, so the Christian bishop sort of retained some kind of temporal authority. You know, he not only was the religious authority, he became also the sort of the government. And that's how this fusion, where the Christian became so powerful, even in government, which existed up until 1500, that whole period of 1,000 years, until the Reformation and until modernity and Protestantism, etc. where the temporal power, the religious power was occupied by the same Christian. That all happened because the Roman Empire folded into Christianity through, and a lot of that started by Constantine. But I only bring that up because initially at this period of time, the Romans persecuted the Christians. But anyways, Rav Tarfon says the reason is because they are makir v'koifer. Alena kosuf oimer achara delas from mezuzah santa zichronecha. That means you. So pasuk in Yeshayahu. Even though they know Hashem, they know the mezuzah. They are mezalzel him out from behind the door. On Rabbi Yishmael. Kal v'chomer. I'll give you kal v'chomer why we should burn their sforim. U'malas shalom ben ish le'ishto, to make peace between a man and his wife. Amra Torah. Shemisha nichtav b'kedusha yimachal hamayim. So if a husband suspects his wife of infidelity, and he warns her in front of two Eidim not to sequester herself with such and such person. So there are two steps. First, there has to be in with two Eidim, warning his wife not to sequester. And then two Eidim come along and say, we saw them sequestered in a room, this Chaim Yankel and your wife. We didn't see what went on in there. If they saw an act of adultery, so they would take them both out and kill them. She's an HSE, she lived with HSE, they're both Chayv Misa. That's not a case of a Sota. Sota is there's a doubt, there's a suffix. We don't know what on in the room. But because he had warned her and she went into the room, so he's not allowed to live with his wife anymore, unless he takes her up to the Beis HaMikdash and goes through the Sota process. And we'll learn this extensively in Masechta Sota. Part of the process is they take a parsha written on parchment, and they have to dissolve it in water, and she drinks that. So Hashem allows his name, because the name of Hashem appears there in that parsha Sota, to be erased. Why? To make shalom ben ish v'ishto, because if she drinks the water and comes out alive, then they go back together again. So Kadosh Baruch Hu allows his name to be erased for shalom bayis halalu. These meaning shematilin kina, the eva betachrus ben Yisrael avim shabashmai. They're creating jealousy and hatred and competition between the Jewish people and their Father in heaven. Alachos kam v'kama, that he will allow his name of Hashem that's been written Yud Kei Vav Kei in one of their svarim, that they should be it should be burned. V'aleim Amar David, halom misanecha Hashem esna, u'vizkomecha es kotat. My enemies, he says, I will hate you, refers to the meaning. Just like if they're being burnt on Shabbos, you don't save them. Not if a wall falls on it or an earthquake. If there's a flood. Anything that destroys them, you leave them there and they get destroyed. Now, the Be'avidon, the Rishonim explain, was a place that people gathered and they discussed philosophy. This was not Avodah Zarah. And they wrote books there. There were debates with Jews, and that was called a Be'avidon. And there was a machlokas. We'll see some people did go there and some people did not go there. Matzil no some of the Adleka Oimet. Now these books that recorded the debates there, and there may have been philosophical debates that Jewish people weighed in on, or there were Hebrew books there, like a library, like the Alexandrian Library, where debates occurred between philosophers. And they were used to support, if people were having debates, there were sforim kept there. So could those sforim be saved or not? So that was asked of Rav Avo. So he said, in V'lav Rav, he said, yeah, no. And he had a weak answer. It means he fumped it. He didn't know what to say. Rav loy azal be'abidan. when Rav was invited to come there, he did not go. And the kosher came to Bein Yitzrafi. He certainly go to Bein Yitzrafi, Rashi says, was Mamish Avodah Zarah. So of course Rav wouldn't go there. Shmuel Bein Yitzrafi lo Ozel, Bein Avidan Ozel, but Shmuel would go to the Bein Avidan. Again, we always mention Shmuel was a doctor, Shmuel was an astronomer, Shmuel was a scientist. So you see, philosophy is scientific, right? It's always questioning in a scientific way. So you see, Shmuel was very consistent with what we know of Shmuel. Shmuel did go. And we'll see soon, part of it was some of the Amoraim, they were afraid they would be killed. Maybe they would say something that's not correct, that's not PC, and they would get angry, they would kill him. But Shmuel maybe felt confident that he knew how to handle them there. Amalei l'Rava. My time osi lebei avida. So they asked Rava, you don't go there. Why don't you go there? Amr lahu, dikla planya ikabu orcha. He gave an excuse. He says there's a big palm tree on the road, and it bumps the street. Kashali. So they said, okay, niakra, we'll uproot it, so it'll make it easier for you. Still duchte kashali. He gave a teretz. He gave some kind of excuse why he doesn't go there. Mainly, Chazal say he was choishish for his life. But Marba Yosef Amar Ana Minayu Ana. I'm friendly with them, so I'm going to go in there. I'm not afraid of them. Zirna Chada as he went, Boile Sakuni, but they debated with him, and then they wanted to kill him. So I guess just because they were friendly, didn't protect him. Rav Meir Havikarile Oven Gilyon. So, gentlemen, what does that sound like? Evangelist, right? Oven Gilyon. It's in Greek. Good news. So he would call these places Evangelion. Rav Yochanan Havikarile Oven Gilyon, using the word Oven. That's what the Christians called their svarim. But Chazal, right? They made a play of words. Avon Gilyon. It's a sin, right? They took that word and they changed it into a Hebrew word that basically was making chayzik of the word. Ima Shalom was the name of the wife of Rabbi Eliezer, the Visud Rabbi Eliezer. Her name was Ima Shalom. And she was Achdei Rabbi Gamliel Avi. She was the sister of Rabbi Gamliel. Havehahu philosopha, there was a philosopher. Look what Rashi says. Min. Havehahu philosopha Shavavusa in their neighborhood. The Havishakal Shmad Lo Bekabel Shuchta. He was a judge. And he was a Christian, and he wanted to spread the word that he's an honest judge. So the brother and sister, Ima Shal Gamliel, hatched a plan to trap him. They wanted to ruin his reputation, to show what his real nature was. So Ima Shalom sent him as a bribe a golden candelabra. The Ozula Kamei and the two siblings, brother and sister, presented themselves in front of him with a case. Amrale, there are some assets that have fallen from our parents. and I want my share. Well, we know in Jewish law, if there's a son and a daughter, the son inherits the whole thing. The daughter doesn't inherit b'makom ben. But because he had been bribed, Amar lahu plugu. He said, "You can this asset you can divide." So Rabbi Gamliel pointed out to this judge, Armalek Sivlon, what do you mean? It's written Bimkom Bra Bartoloterus. In the place of a son, a daughter doesn't inherit. Amarle min yoma de glisun ma'arachon, from the day that you were exiled from your land, in Talisa Raisa de Moshe, Visyavis Oven Gilyon. The Torah Moshe doesn't exist, and now it's only the good news, i.e. the New Testament. And in that it's written, son and a daughter will inherit together. And of course, this led to succession theory. Already in the times of the church fathers, in the year 200, 300, they came up with this whole thing that they are the new Israel, that they have displaced Israel. The Churban has shown that Hashem wants nothing to do with Klal Yisrael, and that we are now the new Jews. This is succession theory, and that, and this, of course, existed throughout the Middle Ages, etc. Here it is in the Gemara.
It existed, Ernie. It existed. I once heard a shiur from the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University.
Rabbi Irons from Detroit. Is that what you mean, Walter?
No. Anyway, he said that basically until now, when I think they only recognized, the Christians only recognized Israel in I think it was 82 or I think it was even later, because the once they recognized Israel, they had to give up on this fact that we were punished because of Yoshka, and that's why we were thrown out of Eretz Yisrael. And once we were back in Eretz Yisrael, it was very hard for them to
right. And you see that this attempt to create a whole new system, whole new theology, right? That says Lamochar Hadar Ayale Iu Chamra Luba. So the next day, Rabbi Gamliel sent them a white donkey, a Libyan donkey, which were very expensive. Armalu Shvelis L'Seifa de Oven Gilyon. So he told him, go to the end of event to the New Testament because of Bay. I didn't come to add to I didn't come to detract from Moshe's Torah and not to add to Moshe's Torah. And in Moshe's Torah, so he obviously, because he got a bribe from the brother, he said, where there's a brother, the daughter doesn't inherit. Oh, we see your wisdom comes through shining like a candelabra. That means word got out that he's not honest. And yeah, my donkey came and kicked over your candelabra. So basically they accomplished what they needed to accomplish, which the fact that he was a dishonest judge was revealed. So you see what's going on. It is this competition. We're seeing this society had a competition which culminated in the Birchas Haminim. What did the Birchas Haminim do? At that point, they were thrown out of the community of Klal Yisrael. So you see, for a while, they were tolerated. Just like we have sects within Judaism. They haven't been thrown out, but at that point, they threw them out. And then there was, there was never, and then the real hatred began. Okay. Umibnei Ma'in Korin. We said that we don't read Ksuvim because of Bittul Beis HaMedrash. So Amarav Loishan al Bizman Beis HaMedrash. What's going on here? On Shabbos in the morning, when they would lane, so the Rav would give a shiur because the people didn't come during the week. So he would give them all sorts of halachas, Isser v'Heter. He would teach them everything that Shabbos morning. So they made an Isser to read Ksuvim because Ksuvim was very interesting to people. They read Ezra and Nehemiah, they read Daniel, they read Megillah Esther, read other Megillahs. And so it doesn't mean all day Shabbos if you can't read it. It's only Bizman Beis HaMidrash. But Shalom Bizman Beis HaMidrash Koyim. Our Shmuel Amar Filu Shalom Bizman Beis HaMidrash Ein Koyim. The whole Shabbos you can't read it, even in the afternoon. Whereas it's not so. The Bahan Nardah, the city of Nardah was Asr to Shmuel. Was where Shmuel was the Mord Asra. Uven Nardah Piskei Sir B'Ksuvim and Chassid Shabbat. They would read psukim of Ksuvim by Mincha Shabbos. So how can you tell me Shmuel said Afilu Shalom is Ma'aben Shemeshen Korin? It's not correct. Eliyit Mar Hachiyit Mar Amar Rav Loishan Obamakom Beis HaMedrash. It's not Bizman. It's B'Makom. Aval Shalom B'Makom Beis HaMedrash Korin. If you're at home, you could read. Shmuel Amar Ben B'Makom Ben Beis HaMedrash Ben B'Makom Beis HaMedrash Ben Shalom B'Makom Beis HaMedrash. Whether you're home or not at home, Bizman Beis HaMidrash during the time of the morning ain't Korim. But Shalom Bizman Beis HaMidrash, which was like in the afternoon, Korim.
Yeah, he has a halacha here. And he has a halacha here. So basically, the sages issued a decree prohibiting to read the books of the writings on Shabbos during the time of generally attended regular lecture in the study hall. This was intended to prevent absence from the study hall. It's the Rambam in Sefer's Zmanim, Hilchos Shabbos.
Right. By the way, this little halacha we just learned is the source for why people ask the question on Shabbos Chol HaMoed Pesach and Shabbos Chol HaMoed Sukkos, we lane Shir HaShirim and Koheles before Kriyas HaTorah. Yet Megillah Esther we read after Kriyas HaTorah. On Purim, we first read Vayavo Amalek, and then we put the Sefer Torah away, and then we read Megillah Esther. It relates to this din because these Megillahs are ksuvim. So Megillah Esther is a chiyuv mitzvah d'Rabbanan to read. So, but once you relay the Torah, so that's Bizman Beis HaMedrash. So the ksuvim have to be read before the laning. So if somebody asks you once, why do we lane Rus and all of the ksuvim that we read, we do it before the Sefer Torah, before we read Kriyas HaTorah. It relates to this halacha of ksuvim, asr bizman beis HaMedrash, etc. There's I think in Harei Kedem, Rav Shechter brings from Rav Yoshe Ber a beautiful shir regarding this issue, and I saw it once related to this piece of Gemara. Weiter, v'azdo Shmuel tamei, and Shmuel is consistent. In Nardah Paski Tzidin Ksuvim in Chassid Shabbat, because we see in Nardah they did read Ksuvim by Mincha Shabbos. Rav Ashi Amar Lo'elam Kedamon Meikara. No, you don't have to change. Really, we say before that Shmuel answered the whole day. Shmuel Rav Nehemiah. The time Aval Bishamar Kitzrei Kodesh Ein Korin Behen. Yeah, you don't read them. Aval Shoyin Behen. You can teach it. The Dorshin Behen. Nitzrach LePasuk, maybe V'roebo. Let's say you're giving a drush and you need to see the pasuk. You can see it. Amar Nehemiah Neima Amru Kitzrei Kodesh Ein Korin Behen. You don't lane it. Different halachas has nothing to do with this bittul beis hamedrash. We don't want people to read newspapers or their business papers on Shabbos. So they ban reading ksuvim because they don't want people to read regular shtaros, contracts, cheshbonos, letters, and all the personal things that shouldn't be read on Shabbos. So a whole different svara as to why they banned reading them. Mishnah. Matzilin tika sefer ma sefer. That if there's a Sefer Torah burning, you don't have to take the mantle of the Sefer Torah off and just save the Sefer Torah. You can save the Sefer Torah even with the box that it's in. Same thing, v'tikat tefillin, tefillin zekel, most. Even if there's money there, you could schlep the money out as well. Now, we're going to see you're not allowed to store your money there. So now where do you save it? You're not allowed to save it to a Rishus Harabim. We're talking about a three-sided alleyway, which Minat Torah is Rishus HaYachid. It's only Midrabanan that you can't carry there. But Minat Torah you can, so you can go there. We lift a rabbinic prohibition. But Ben Beseira Omer Afla Mefulish. And we're talking about a Mefulish to Rishus Harabim, so we'll have to understand Ben Beseira seems to be permitting you to violate even a Doraisa. So very rarely, we've had it, of course, in our day as well, but not that commonly, that Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos. And after they shechted the Korban Pesach, so you have to place the innards, the emurim, the kravim, on the mizbeach. So mafshitin es haPesach arei chazeh. Divrei Shmuel ben Oshel Yechon ben Broka. So normally you would remove the hide of the whole animal, but on Shabbos we minimize what you do, and you only tear back the hide until the breast, so you can get access to the emurim. You don't have to finish the job. No, the Chachamim say you do the whole thing. So the Gemara doesn't understand. Fine. Do what you have to do to fulfill what you need to do for the korban. Do weiter, you don't have to do. El Rabbana my time. Why do the Chachamim allow you to be mafshit the whole animal? Amar Rav Chana Rav Yechon Amar Kra Kol Pal Hashem Lemanei. Means whatever you do for Kadosh Baruch Hu, you got to do it b'kavod. So what's the kavod? Rav Yosef Omer Shelo Yasriach. Because otherwise, the korban, if you don't strip the whole thing, the meat's going to go bad and it's going to rot. Rav Omer Shelo Yu Kodesh Shemayim Utam Kinevela. It also looks, it's like a butcher shop there, half removed. So he says it's a matter of kavod. My binayu. What's nafkamina in these two svaras? For example, let's say you left it on a golden table. Left on a golden table, so it's not muton kinevela. Or inami yoma da aston. It's got a certain wind that keeps the meat fresh, anyways, whether you remove the hide or not. So that would be a nafkamina in the Rav Yosef versus Rava's reasons. What does Rav Yishmael ben Oshel Yechon ben Broka do with high Pal Hashem L'maneyu? My Ovidlei. They have a point. Shelo Yotzi Saimurim Kodem Avshad Sa'or. Here, you've done what you have to do to remove the emurim. Now, my timer. Why do you do it this way? Because you don't want to make a hole in this intestine, a hole in the belly to pull it out. It's going to get full of hair. So strip the whole hide off and makes the more acceptable to the mizbeh. What did the Chachamim say back there? If the Mishnah tells us that you're allowed, when you save a Sefer Torah, you don't have to stop and take the mantle off. You take the whole thing out. So that lo nafshin is a Pesach, or shouldn't we complete the job on Erev Pesach and finish the whole removing of the hide? Hasan tiltul. Muktzah is only rabbinic. So there, we allow it. Hacha malacha. But there, by stripping the hide, that's a malacha. It's a full malacha on Shabbos. So you do what you have to do for Gavoa to be able to get the more, but more than that, they're really arguing both. There's an argument regarding muktzah and malacha. So if we're allowed to save the mantle of a Sefer Torah with the Sefer Lo Netatel or Agav Basar, can't we touch the hide because there's Basar there? So otherwise, you could say, maybe I can't touch the hide. But since there's Basar there, it's sort of an Agav, it's a not Muktzah because Agav, the Basar that's there, we can be metal to the oil. Otherwise, it would be a Muktzah problem. And the Gemara will comment that is also not a good comparison. But we'll learn that tomorrow. Okay. Very good, everybody.